Hey guys, welcome to another Sorare Strats video. Today I'm going to be talking about Rivals, all my top tips and strategies that I think will get you to the top of the leaderboards and win those boxes. There's a few real good hidden gems in here that people don't always consider, so I do recommend staying to the end of the video and hopefully you'll pick up a few little gems along the way. So let's get to it. Okay, so my first tip is deciding when you actually enter. What I tend to find, especially in the higher divisions, is that if you enter the very first game, you are up against the absolute sweats. And by sweats, what I mean is these guys go hard. They're going to enter so many games and they're going to be pretty much racking up the score throughout the week. So what I recommend is actually delaying when you start. I do actually sometimes enter the second day, so on the Wednesday. What I find then is the standard people who I'm up against, they may still be very, very good, but they may not be the people that are going into every single game, like loading up on tickets and really racking up a high score to go against. So some of my better weeks and promotions have been when I've entered on the second day, and I've actually been able to get promoted on sometimes 25 to 30 points, whereas if I enter straight away in Div 1, Div 2, you often need 40, 50. So that's my first tip. Okay, my next tip in terms of what games should you enter. I do so much better on the weekends when I'm playing the Prem games. Do you know why? Because I know the Prem. I am often following it. I'm often watching it. So in terms of doing substitutions, knowing who to pick in the first place, that's where my strength is. When I struggle is when I'm having to play these Australian games, these J-League, K-League. I have not got a clue. I really do not have a clue. So what does everyone do? You go in and you pick the people with the highest scores and try and fit them in, and then you just look at what tactic is currently showing you will work the best. This is where I lose a lot, because that doesn't tell the whole story. These L15s, they can be devious. If you don't understand what's been happening, then you're putting them in, and it might be that a lot of those scores, maybe that some of them were internationals that are muddying the water, things like that. So personally, I know it's hard because you've got to really go for it, but try and play as many games as you can where you're watching or have the knowledge. It's really important, and what I will often do is I'll play maybe one or two during the week, to try and stay kind of competitive. But at the weekend, I just load up. I just go to town on every Premier League game I can. The Liga games, that's when I really try and do as much as I can, because otherwise I'm entering games I don't really have a clue, and guess what? I lose. So it's so frustrating if you're on a 2-win streak as well. So that's my second tip. Okay, so what I want to do is talk you through some of the errors that I've seen people make. And the first one is around fitting a lineup in. So let's say I go to Tottenham v West Ham. I want to run a whole Tottenham stack because I think they're going to be clear winners. I think they're going to batter West Ham. So what am I going to do? I've got to put in Vicario. I obviously want Pedro Porro, James Maddison, Heung-min Son, and now I'm in a bit of a tricky situation because the only Tottenham player I can fit in, I can't really fit in anyone. So this is where I see people make sacrifices to try and fit teams in. So they might go, right, okay, I can't fit in Son. Let me put in Kulusevski. He's still pretty good. Right, and then they'll go, right, can I fit in a Tottenham player? Not really. Okay, well, let's have a look. Let's downgrade Maddison a bit. Bentancur has been pretty good. Yeah, let's put him in. And let me see if I can fit in here now. So, oh look, I can now fit in a whole Tottenham stack. I can have Brennan Johnson, and then they'll submit that team. I don't really agree with weakening a lineup to fit in the stack. I have an alternative way that I play. So let me go. I always want to have. I'll start off with right. Who do I definitely want? I definitely want Son. I definitely want Maddison. And then I definitely want Pedro Porro as well. So what that means is I've only got 29 left, 29 points left. But what I will do, I will go and put in someone that isn't going to play. So not there, because that's my Madison spot, but here I'm going to put in someone that I know isn't even going to start. So say this guy. I do this because I've got a strong squad and I really want to have these players. Obviously, I'm not going to choose Tiki Taka because if I'm playing subs as a tactic, I'm not going for passes. I'm going to be going for probably all out attack. So all out attack, and then I'd submit this. And then what that means is I'm going into the game knowing that I'm going to be subbing this guy out. And because I've got a really healthy collection, I'm going to be bringing on someone that will probably do pretty well. But what it does, it allows me to have Madison, Son, and Porro together. So what I would always say is always look at getting the best. If there's key players on that team, you need them. You definitely need Human Son. You definitely need James Madison. I'd say Porro, you probably could go without Porro. But who would you want as an alternative? All the others are pretty pricey as well. Actually, Destiny Doggy isn't, but I do feel like Pedro Porro is the one that can actually have shots, so he's going to help my tactic. So don't be afraid to do this, going in with a 4-man lineup, because subs are so powerful now that they come on, they've got 35 base score anyway. And what you should probably be finding is most games you need to sub someone off anyway. Okay, so starting off with Tiki Taka. Tiki Taka is all about passing. So it's the amount of passes that a team has. So what you want to be looking for is really teams that dominate possession. If they have 60% of possession, then they're going to be doing a lot of passes. There's no point using this for a team that has a good passing style, but they're playing the team that's top of the league. For example, if you had Brighton and they were playing Man City, forget about it. They're not going to have enough of the ball. So that's what Tiki Taka is. Also, with Tiki Taka, it probably isn't worth worrying about a sub as much with this tactic because you're going to lose all their passes. So just consider that. Next up, Jose Mourinho's favourite, Park the Bus.
Have it. Oh, yes.
This tactic is one you want to use if you're doing a rivals game for a lower league, probably like a League 2 type championship game maybe, where it's two teams that are very scrappy. All it is just them hoofing the ball away pretty much. So yeah, you're not going to use it much, probably the least used tactic I currently use, but it does have its particular games where it will come in handy. Jogger Bonita. This is for when you've got players that are very skillful and will take on a player and get past the player. You want to think of your players like Jeremy Doku is the pretty much the stereotype for this tactic. But if you've got any jinky little wingers, this is the tactic for you. Geigen pressing. So this is for when you're going to be winning those duels. You're going to have a lot of combative players. If you think of like Rodri, currently Gravenberch for Liverpool, anyone who plays in the 6 role, along with a couple of defenders, then it's a pretty good tactic to use. I've used it quite frequently. But yeah, you want players that are really going to battle in and get stuck in and win those balls, win those challenges. So this is a pretty good one. All out attack. So this is when you feel that your team is going to dominate, but you're going more for shots on goal. So I would say it doesn't have to be someone who's very good at scoring goals. So, for example, if Darwin Núñez was playing for Liverpool, I would probably play all out attack because although he is a donkey and he misses most of his chances, he shoots literally every time he gets the ball from 40 yards, 50 yards. He doesn't care. And all it takes is it to be on target and you're racking that up. So definitely probably want to be playing 2 forwards for this particular tactic. Right. So when it comes to missions, I would say that it's my main focus when it comes to rivals. I am not too concerned about where I am on the leaderboard. At the moment, I'm having a fairly good week. I'm in 26 points. I'm not far off the top. I'm in Division 2 at the moment. And I'm doing okay for tickets as well. I've got 144 tickets. And part of that is because of the way that I play the game. I'm not going to worry too much about my position. The reason being is you can really chase and chase, burn through your tickets, and at the end of that week, what you get a couple of arena tickets or something. It's a long slog for one box, so I don't really mind what's going on with the where I am in the division. In some respects, falling down the divisions isn't the worst thing in the world because you could actually win probably against easier people to play against, like the boxes. So yeah, I every day I'm always focusing on the missions, and I will base my teams around hitting these objectives. That's what you should be doing, trying to hit these boxes. Um, More so now than ever because they've actually changed the weighting of what goes into the boxes. So, for example, the light box, it has now got a bit more of an increased chance of getting essence. It's still the worst box to get, and you are more than likely going to get arena tickets, but you have got a 35% chance of getting some essence. And then when it comes to the basic box, if it just lets me pick that one, here it's 50-50, which I think is amazing. So every day you're getting a chance of getting two shots of essence just from these two boxes. And then you've got the three in a row box. If you can get this, look how good this box is. You've only got a 30% chance of arena tickets. And the rest of the stuff in this box is really, really good. I pulled some amazing cards, actually. Really happy with Rivals. If you aren't playing Rivals and looking to win as much as you can, I don't know what to say, really. Um, so yeah, when it comes to these missions, make sure you look at what you need to do. So for example, today I've got all out attack. So if I was looking to play, I'd want to play a game where I've got a very attacking team playing against a lowly team, and they've got maybe two forwards that really go for goal, maybe an attacking midfielder, a defender on free kicks. I want to go for that. It's really important that we try and get the all-out attack and the shots on goal to get me that box. The second mission I've got is Full House, which is a tricky one because three from one team, two from another. In that basis, you want probably a match where it's quite two teams at pretty level. So you think towards the weekend, we've got Liverpool v Chelsea. That might be one where you can manipulate it. By manipulating, what I mean is you could actually start that game with four Liverpool, one Chelsea, try and get the win. And as it's getting towards the end of the second half, if you sub on a Chelsea player for a Liverpool player, when you've already secured the win, you've fulfilled it. So don't feel you have to start with these criteria. The sub means you can bring someone on and fulfill it. So that's another top tip, really. And you can look at doing things with the subs to try and manipulate the situation. Whenever you get that one where it says win by 20 points or less, that is a hard one. Obviously, you have close games, but there will be times where you can kind of just be like, right, I'm going to get that now. Because if you're dominating a game, say, for example, you're like 77 points ahead, I will look in the last minute of the game when it's in injury time. If I've got someone who's on, so I've got my 77-point lead, so I've got someone on 60 points, I will just sub them off for someone who isn't even on the pitch. Instantly, I lose 60 points. And what that means is I'm now winning by a very smaller margin. So I'm only now winning by 17 points. It's risky. It can come back to bite you. But I think it's worth it because what are the odds of there being a very last minute decisive action? That's what I mean. Have a look at these missions. Think how you can manipulate it because trust me, for me, Rivals is all about hitting these boxes and building up the essence. Okay, I've heard a lot of debate about whether you should play your pro cards in Rivals. And what I see a lot of content creators saying is, no, don't use your pro cards. You actually, you're more likely to actually be in a harder situation if you play your pro cards. I personally think it's a little bit more of a conversation around pro cards, and I actually think there are definitely situations where you should be playing your pro cards. So I'll talk you through one of my examples here. So if I go to the weekend, let's have a look. So, for example, Sunday, if you've got a big collection of a team, then say, for example, Liverpool, I've got a whole Liverpool collection, pretty much last season's. I will look to play them in this manner. So, look, I could pick Kelleher, I could pick Trent, I could put in Sobersley. Obviously, I want Salah. How many points that leave me? 45. Can I fit anyone in? I could put in Jota. That's a very good team. And the temptation is, if you've got a whole collection there, play all the pro cards. This is what I would do. So if you are missing any of the players, so I know the only one I haven't really got in defence is Van Dijk. So if I go here, if I put in Van Dijk, and then here I'm going to put in Gravenberch. They're the two players I don't really own from Liverpool. They're still very good, and that's really important. You don't want to sacrifice things just to do a certain tactic. You want the best players, but if there's a comparable one you don't own, I would enter this team. And the reason why I would change the tactic, but in terms of the team, I would enter this. The reason why is I would then be matched up against someone who is also playing free cards, free pro cards. And what that means is typically, if they're playing free pro cards, because not everyone thinks into the strategy as much, they're probably someone who has only got free pro cards. They're putting out all the pro cards they can. What and what I'm going to do is I'll play this team. When someone comes on in the second half, I'm going to have a good chance that I own that player. Um, and I'm going to be able to take advantage, because then what I could do, say we've conceded, right? I'll get rid of Van Dijk, and what I could end up doing is putting in a Cody Gakpo. Say he comes on, that's a pro card with a 20% bonus straight away. And what will happen is I will then go from having 3 pro cards to 4 pro cards. Say Conor Bradley comes on. Your opponent, because he's got 3, he probably isn't employing this strategy. He will have to bring on a common card, which is a 20% less. So, yeah, I would say if you've got pro cards, don't just dismiss that you can't use them, but only use them if you've got the best. Because if you've got the best pro card, you are going to be in a position where you're playing against someone who can only match you as the worst case scenario, but you're probably in a position where you're actually better than them. So, for example, with Tottenham v West Ham, forget it's against Tottenham, for example. At the moment, I want to think about West Ham. Say this was West Ham against a very easy team, just for the sake of the conversation, because I'll show you why I'm talking like this. So I'd put in Areola. Actually, I wouldn't put in Areola. Yeah, of course I'd have to put in Areola. Defender, I would want, let's have a look, Kilman. I don't want to play him because although I've got a rare pro card, it's not a good card. So like I say, you can only play good pro cards. I've got Jared Bowen, and then I'd fill it up with, I probably would go Kudos. So if you only own 1 or 2 pro cards of a team, and they're the best of that team, you should be playing your pro card. And I'll tell you the main reason behind that. In this example, like I say, forget it's against Tottenham. Presume this is West Ham at home to Ipswich, right? By me playing this, I'm going to be matched up against someone who's only got 1 pro card. And what often happens when I do this strategy is I'm put up against someone who might have a Kilman pro card. And it might be that it's their only pro card, but because they think, oh, it's my pro card, I'll get a boost on this. They play it. So they'll play their 1 pro card. And my pro card is very much better to have than their pro card. So I'm already from the lineup basis, I'm already putting myself at an advantage. So when it comes to pro cards, my main takeaway from this is if you've got the best of the best of that team, put them in. If you've got squad depth on the bench, try and limit how many you're putting in. Try and field it with some really good common cards, and then when the sub comes on the second half, you're going to be in an advantage again. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts in the comments if you think I've got that right or wrong. I'll be glad to hear what you guys think. Now, this tip is a very, very important tip that not everyone considers. So, say you're in the 70th minute and you're trailing by, say, 5 points. You're looking at the subs, you're waiting for the subs, right? Give me a sub, give me a sub. Oh my God, this great player's just come on. Let me smash this person into my lineup. Always pause and think, because if you do this, if you're playing an opponent like me, I'm taking my time and I'm watching my opponent, and if he puts in that player and I'm the one who's a few points ahead, do you know what I do? I copy him. I just cancel it out. So unlucky that sub is actually pretty useless to you now. So don't always do the obvious substitution straight away. What I would say is keep an eye on what your opponent is doing. Don't get too focused on yourself. And I usually wait until like towards the fifth, when it's almost at the point where you can't enter him, and I'll be checking my opponent. If he enters that player, although it might be the optimum move to put him in, if he's entered him, I'm not going to do it, because what's the point? I can't catch him. I'll wait for the next guy to come on. And I think that's a really big tip that a lot of people don't think about. Always consider pausing and waiting, especially because if someone gets a decisive within that 5 minutes, you can still enter them. So it might be that someone comes on and you think, oh, he's not a very good player. But if you pause and wait, what if he gets an assist? I've done this before. The guy gets an assist and I haven't done my sub yet. He's been on the pitch for 3 minutes. I'm putting him in. And my opponent might have put in that really great player, and then I've overtaken him. So substitutions are a really important part of the game, especially now they're worth 35. But do consider your opponent is also thinking of the same kind of things that you're thinking. Sometimes you have to do something that might seem suboptimal, but actually it's your only realistic chance. You can't both put on the same sub usually and you catch him up. So obviously it goes hand in hand with the tactics. Maybe it can still work out, but likelihood is you've got to do something a bit
guys,
different. Thank you for checking out the video. I do really appreciate it. It's only my second video, so any likes, and if you could subscribe, it's really going to motivate me to put these videos together, because it does take me a bit of time. I didn't realize how long editing takes, so I want to keep doing it. But yeah, hopefully you've took something from this video, and I'll see you next time.